Barton, welcome to the show. Nice to have you here.
Great to be here, mate. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, we're excited to hear about Barton Lynch Pro Surfing, a new video game. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Oh, if life aren't full of just strange twists and turns, you know what I mean? Like, who would imagine they would have said to you when you were a teenager aspiring to be a professional surfer and not even knowing if that would come true, but saying, hey, and you'll be 61 years, at some point in your future, you'll be 60 years old and you'll have a video game come out with your name on it. You just go, you're crazy. What are you talking about? It's a unique situation where, for me, when Bungara software developers came to me and said, "Hey, we want to get you involved in a video game we're developing." They're a couple of brothers from Perth, Western Australia, and they're so passionate about this thing. This is their baby. This is something they've wanted to do for a long time. And I said, "Sure, I can help you." And I thought I'd be consulting and coordinating with surfers and with companies and being a bridge between the game and the industry, which I was. But then they go, and we want to call it Barton Lynch Pro Surfing. And the first thing I said was, can't you get a better name? Surely you can get a better name than me. Surely. Like, that was what I wanted. And he goes, no, mate, we like the Madden NFL model, and you're a world champion and a coach and a commentator, and it's similar in scope to that, and we want to call it that. And I was like, so there it was, mate. And here we are. And yeah, in a lot of ways, it's very surreal to me. But and really, I suppose in a lot of ways, at first, I'm like, well, what have I got to lose? When am I ever going to be offered another video game opportunity in this life? You know what I mean? It never gets so out of left field as it was. So, yeah, it was a no-brainer, and I got involved. I didn't really kind of consider the size or scope of what it is and what it means. I didn't consider gaming. The reality is I've never played a video game. So it's just like it's one of them ironic things, mate. And so there's a lot I didn't know, so much learning and experiences and things going on, and then for the brothers, Bungara, halfway through the project, a couple of years in, their partner got bought out by a French conglomerate, and they wanted either the product for themselves and to buy them out, buy Bungara out, or Bungara take it and go do it on their own. And it was such a passion project for Andrew and the boys from Bungara. They were like, "Hey, we're going alone. We can't let go at this point. We're so close. We've got to see it through." And that created a lot of stress, a lot of difficulties financially, workload, COVID happens, all this work, everything's going on that's kind of throwing spanners from left, right, and centre. And the boys, they just stayed the course and just kept working and kept trying and keep focusing. And in Andrew's own words, he goes, honestly, we're limping across the finish line. You know what I mean? To get to that point where it goes live. So it's been a passion project for those guys, and that's why I respect it and them the most, because they just love what they're doing and they're trying to do the best they can, and they've had complications and issues. As anything, when you do anything of that scale, I suppose you're always going to have stuff, right?
What were some of the highlights in terms of this collaboration? I mean, you've obviously connected with a range of athletes. You came up with ideas for destinations. There's the whole game mechanics, like designing this world and how things happen. What did you enjoy the most?
The part that I obviously I got all of the surfers on contract, and that there's 7 of the riders, and I did that years ago, like 3 years ago or whatever. And when we went to the big people, Kelly, John, but there wasn't really interest. Kelly's had his own game, obviously. John doesn't game. There was all these different reasons. And in the end, we went to we picked 7 surfers. So on the male front, we had Clay Marzo, who I just had to go. He's a living video character and one of the greatest surfers ever. I just couldn't. He was immediate in my mind when he has to be in, and I'm good friends with him. And he's a goofy. That don't hurt. Solly Bailey, when I was picking an Australian, I wanted an Indigenous Australian, and in that sense, we've been in that space and respectful of that space for a long time. And then we got Nathan Florence. And Nathan, what he has done with his career in the time that we've signed those guys, and then Yago Dora.
Nice.
So those 4 guys, from when we signed them all that time ago, Solly's been a bit quiet and kind of doing his own thing, got off tour, but he's just living and enjoying that. The other 3 have just taken their careers to crazy levels and are so much more valuable now than what they were then. Yes. And then Vahini Fierro, on the female side, we got Vahini Fierro, Mahina Maeda, and Felicity Parmentier. And Felicity's, she's been on Survivor. She's gone back. They're doing great on the big wave thing, just killing it there. Vahini's the queen of Chopu. Mahina's an Olympian representing Japan. Those 7 people that we went out and got way back when all lived up to their part and sort of paid me back for my respect and appreciation and belief in them by taking their careers to another level, so that by the time we launched, they're a much more valuable asset than they were when we signed them. And that's a very cool thing to think. And myself too, in that sense. Like, who knows how many Instagram followers I had back then, maybe 10,000, and it's 70 now. So in the time that there's all those other things sidewinding and making the job of getting to market difficult, which is life, what we did, where we invested, in surfers, in events, in locations, they all paid off. I saw Surfline come out with a thing on Aileen's in Ireland just the other day. And I was like, it's like the first time nearly I've ever seen anything on that place. And it's in the game. And I'm like, well, how's that ironic timing? So I feel like the principles, the pillars we put in place at the start to try and ensure cultural integrity to a degree, I feel like that we did a good job of that. And I'm proud of that part. The fact that it kind of looks fairly similar to the real world in that sense,
What are your favorite locations? Obviously, you've had a play of the game. I'm sure you spent a lot of time inside of there. For people wondering about it, what are some of your favorite locations?
Obviously Jaws is what I like surfing there, because I like surfing places you will never. Personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've surfed a lot of the other places. I look at Jaws and go, well, I might never do that except for here.
Yeah.
Pipeline's like that for a lot of people too, I suppose. And so, I feel like that. And then I love the wave pool in Tokyo. I feel like that's super cool too. But for me, Jaws is the one I like on the backhand too. And it's so big. It's got a massive wall. I was like, terrified, going, hey, better here than the real world.
Oh, for sure. And do you think the game will inspire people to get out into the ocean? I mean, there's always a worry people just sit gaming, but I think surfers are slightly different. I think we love the real thing more than games.
It's a real, the quandary really is around that. Like personally, when you think about a video game, I get to that point where they are such a part of our life now, and everybody's life, and it's just like modern television, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like it's the modern form of what television was when I was a kid. There wasn't TV, then there was TV, and you sat in front of that box, and and things evolve and get to this point where you can interact and be the whole thing. It's so cool in that sense, and I justify surfing's involvement or surfing as a subject matter from the sense that it's good for you, mate.
Yeah.
Shooting people, going to war and shooting people as a interaction in a online world, to me, is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I know the concepts of even stealing cars and driving them illegally, even that behavior that you don't want to replicate within yourself as you feed your brain information. A lot of the gaming is pollution for your brain, mate. It's pollution for your mind. So I look at surfing in that sense, and skateboarding too, and snowboarding, and I go, well, if I'm doing it, or a kid's doing it or whatever, I'm much happier than doing it, learning, training their mind surfing, say, for example, in this case, than I am shooting I wouldn't let my kids do those. That's not allowed, in our house. Any of those games that replicate behaviour that we don't accept as being acceptable in society, in community. And in my little mind, I've often wondered if there was ever been a study in, say, you go to America where you've got this shootings phenomenon. I'd love to know how many of those people gained in that same fashion and were desensitized through the continual, just doing it to the point where you can walk out onto the street and maybe do it. In my mind, it's so far from a reality that I can't even comprehend or fathom doing something like that. But if you play it and program your brain to be stimulated by it, to be okay with it, all of a sudden, now who knows? So, to me, I look at surfing as a gaming subject and go, well, there's a lot worse, that's for sure.
That's for sure, yeah. I mean, personally, I'd much rather my daughter play Barton Lynch Pro Surfing than some game that involves, as you said, violence or even just these mindless games. There's so much nonsense out there that's just junk food.
Colours and lights and candy for your eyes and your brain, eh?
What keeps you inspired? You're always working on creative projects. I mean, you're the 1988 world champ. And ever since then, you've been innovating, doing cool things, creating businesses, creating ideas. What keeps you going?
Desperation, mate. The need to eat. And it sounds like a joke, but it's not really. It's tough to live these days and have a family, and it costs quite a lot of money. And when we did it, there wasn't a lot of money in the sport. You know what I mean? You win an event, you get $5,000 or whatever, and you spent $5 getting there. It's like, everyone's losing money besides the couple people making the final. And, and then sponsorship wasn't what it was. And then you make mistakes throughout your life and trust the wrong people and put money to places that don't work out. And you end up going, geez, I've just got to keep creating. I don't want a job. I don't want to go to work for someone else. I don't want to be told what to do and when and where I have to be. I can't do that. And I have really avoided it for 60 years. So it's been a good effort so far.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, in a sense, mate, it really is desperation. If there wasn't that need to fuel the freedom, I could have been a lot lazier throughout my life and achieved a lot less. But a bunch of years back, I went, when you pass, there's a body of work that is your life that's left behind you, that influences, that people remember your presence by, that people judge your existence by. And I've always valued my time and my desire to create a good body of work. I want to create a good body of work. I want to contribute. I want to share good energy, and I want people to kind of recognize that we are off the bench, right? You think about those kids when you go to a sporting game and they're on the bench and they don't get off the bench and get to be a part of a game. And my son's been in that position with American football a little bit lately because he's just started this year, and there's, he's got kids a couple of years older than him, and he warms the bench, and all you want to do is get off the bench. And we as living human beings that came from the interaction of our parents are off the bench of life, mate. We're in life. We've got a chance. We've got a shot. We're off the bench. And you can do whatever you want with this opportunity. And I want to do good shit, mate. I want to make the most of this thing. My dad died when I was 11 and he was 41. And when my daughter was 11, I was 41. And I just wanted to get past that coincidental mathematic moment. And we got through it. And at 60, I'm like on 19 years of gravy on top of what my dad got. I'm packing it in, mate, too. I want to pack it in. I want to get as much living as I possibly can before mine's over. I know the fragility of this thing, and I know you got to go now, and you got to make the most of it now. And there's no one's got tomorrow. And so that's what keeps me psyched, is that I've got now. Right now, I've got a moment to live, and it's so fortunate. I feel so grateful for that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. I agree. It's not a dress rehearsal. You're not on the bench. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sperm that stay on the bench, isn't there? in that moment of nature engaging and creating a human being, mate.
Mm-hmm.
We are a miracle in that sense.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
miracle that we're
absolutely.
here, that we got the chance. And that's so, that's what I want. When people have their minds think things that they don't like, or when they feel a certain way, I just want people to know none of it matters. You don't have to feel good. You don't have to feel right. You don't have to be anything. It just is. Whatever that moment is what it is, and you just deal with that moment in a sense and not take yourself or it too seriously. Be grateful for the chance to be off the bench and get some dreams going, have some dreams and start to kind of cultivate and manifest the life you want. And you hear heaps of people, self-help books, lots of people talking about manifestation and how it only happens with you applying yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to dive in, mate, and have a go. That's what I see, mate. I see the chance to just do things, and whether you're right or wrong, good or bad, win or lose, that's just a moment, eh? I've done
Yeah.
that all my life. It's been a roller coaster for freaking 50 years, mate. She's been a roller coaster. And you just hang on and just ride the moments and don't get caught up in any of it. Don't take yourself or your thoughts too seriously. Let the emotion just flow through you like a moment. Don't attach to any feeling or thought or idea or concept that this crazy thing comes up with. Let that shit go, mate. You got to let that go, and then and that's what's great about surfing, isn't it? You're in that moment. You don't have a choice. It's gone without you being in control of getting rid of it.
Yeah. That's it.
Focused in that moment.